Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian own, nothing control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listening to replay. This is the vault, episode 698. Why you don't need a trust. Definitely excited about doing this particular episode. A lot of people have been asking us for a while to do a live stream. We haven't done one in a while, so quite a few people we sure are going to listen to this and, you know, do their best to get some value out of it. This particular episode is to let people know why you don't need a trust. For everybody that thinks they're in trusteeship, for all the ones that want to sit here and say you gotta trust. We done many episodes about this. You can just search the titles, but we're gonna go ahead and reiterate it again on why you don't need a trust. And so many people can say, "Oh man, the internet said I needed a trust. Oh man, my friend said I needed a trust. One of my good friends, he got a trust, so I should get a trust. Oh, I heard about one of those things." People say, "Oh yeah." Well, what makes you say that, Christian? What makes you say that, Trust Christian Revolt, that we don't need a trust? What makes you say that? How could you say that? The government, they hid this information from us for years. The lawyers have hid the information for years. There's over 80 different types of trust. What do you mean don't need a trust? There's over 80 different types. I thought it was an estate planning tool. What happened? So you don't need a trust because you're not going to change your mindset. You're not going to change your mindset from ownership to stewardship. That's it. Why don't you need a trust? Because you want to own everything. You want to own your house. You want to own your car. And then when Trust Christian comes on the line and says you got to change your speech, you think you can get inside of a trust. You think you can put some assets in a trust. You think you're going to be protected because the assets are in trust, but you still talking the same language as somebody that owns things. I have a house. I have a car. I have this. I own this. This is mine. My business. My house. My car. Possessive terms. That's why you don't need a trust. And for all you all that are listening, and you say, "Oh, Trust Christian, that's the reason why I don't need trust." That's the number one reason why you're not going to be successful in trust. Because you haven't learned the language yet. And the language is Trust Christian. Own nothing, control everything. That means you're not trying to own all the assets. You're not trying. You get people come on the line, "Oh yeah, Trust Christian, I'm trying to protect my assets." How you going to protect your assets? You keep saying you own them. Now, we've told y'all this for years throughout the podcast. We work with some major celebrities, some very successful people, and they'll tell you that they own a business, but they in trust. What about the politicians y'all deal with? The politicians, they're in trust. They'll tell you that they own a business, though. They'll tell you that business ownership is good, but they're in trust. Then you get upset with, "Oh man, the orange man, Donald Trump. Donald Trump's such a corrupt guy. How is he corrupt? He told you he doesn't have to show a bank statement. How does this individual not take a salary but still get millions of dollars worth of debt associated with him in a business? Oh, he's filed bankruptcy. He's such a bad guy, Christian. He's filed bankruptcy." Did you file bankruptcy? No, but you still own everything. He doesn't own anything. You guys want to really go there? Donald Trump doesn't own anything. He got his name on the side of developers' hotels. But people want to sit here and say, "Oh, I got to own something." So let's make this very clear. The reason why you don't need a trust is because you're not going to correct your speech. Even after you're in trusteeship. Even after you already are a private family foundation. What are you going to do? "Christian, Trust Christian, I still got a business. I still own a business. I still own my car." And even after you take it out of your name and put it inside a trusteeship, you still going to say what? "I own a house. My car. My house." my clothes, my insurance policy. It's so easy to take an insurance policy out and put it in a trust name. Did you do it yet? Maybe you did. But did you make it a point to actually stop saying that you own the insurance policy? This is where y'all getting caught up. Because you secretly want someone to take care of you. It's like Social Security. Who's the Social Security? That's the government. Who's the trustee? The politicians. And who's the beneficiary? By accident, because you didn't want to be a trustee. You are. Most people are trying to be beneficiaries. Who's going to be the beneficiary of our family trust, Christian? You would think it's supposed to be the next generation. But instead, most of them out here, they just saying, oh yeah, I want to be in a trust so I could not have to deal with tax liability or being sued. When it's bigger than that. It's about the beneficiaries. So for all the ones that want to sit here and reach out to the vault because you didn't correct your speech yet, we're setting the record straight. You don't need a trust. You need to correct your speech. You need to adopt the thought process of trusteeship, which is trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. And how do you do that? By correcting your speech, your thought process towards assets. That's what. You eliminate the ownership and possessive mentality. But most people, they're not going to get rid of it. We're going to share with y'all why they're not going to get rid of it. So y'all can sit here and be clear. The reason why you're not going to get rid of it is because you're associating with the wrong people. You're associating with people that's not in trust. And after all the time you've been listening to the vault, Trust Christian has told you numerous times, you have to associate with other people. When people say, oh yeah, I'm associated with like-minded people. How you associated with like-minded people, you're not associated with people that are in trust? We got trustees, they'll try to do business with people that are in trust. They're a liability. They're the ones that can get the business compromised because they're not in trust. And we shared this over and over and over again. But you still going to work. Oh, Trust Christian, I'm going to work. I got a job right now. You wasn't talking to me a second ago. Now you talking to me. I got a job. I'm trying to put my assets in trust. What you saying? I can't have my assets in trust because I'm an employee? We're not saying that. What we are saying is, listen to what you said. Your assets. And as long as they're your assets, you're liable. You don't need a trust. But when you want to say, you know what? These assets, the assets that I have, I want to protect them. I want to pass them along. Unencumbered. What does that mean you do? That means you let go of possession. You let go of ownership. And you get control. Because ownership and control are two different things. They're two different things. You don't need a trust if you're not going to correct your speech. You don't need a trust if you're not going to go into the environments where other charities are. You got people that want to be in private charities but don't go in the environments with other charities because they're watching the football games on Sundays, not knowing that the NFL was a charity and they could literally go to the games for free if they learn how to utilize the charity properly. But oh no, Christian, Trust Christian Vault, what do you mean? It's my charity? Remember, you don't own charity. Just like you don't own the trust. So you don't own anything. But you let public school, the biggest system that failed you, it taught you to own things. And when you own things, you're liable. You get anxious. You get stressed out. Because you don't know how to file bankruptcy properly. Because you don't know that the system is built on paper debt. You don't even know that the system's built on bankruptcy. But you're scared of bankruptcy. Because they got you emotionally tied to your business. Because you took ownership. When all you got to do is detach. And say, I don't own anything. So I'm not liable. So now I'm going to put myself in a position where I'm making it a point to actually not be caught liable for something. Somebody said in the chat, can we talk about solutions to the problem, which is why you don't need a trust? Well, one of the solutions is to enroll in Trustee Training with Trust Christian Revolt. Get on a weekly schedule. Get on that weekly schedule so you can correct your speech over a period of time. So you can get the thought process. So you can get the resources that you need for the relationships. If you're enrolling in a private system, people call trust private, but if you're enrolling in a private system, you would have to enroll and get around private people. How many of you all are around private people? Oh man, Trust Christian. What do y'all want to talk about? Y'all want to talk about how much the conferences cost? The conferences cost. You got to go to the high net worth investor conferences. You got to go to private capital conferences. That's the solution. You get around other private trustees. You get around other private investors. They make it explicit that that's what they are. They share with you their experience transitioning from public to private. A blueprint for success. Somebody say, give me a blueprint. The blueprint is, we've had trustees go through for sure. So don't think that trustees don't go through a trustee training program and they don't get the tools they need. They do. So blueprint for success in trustee training. You enroll in trustee training. You receive the appropriate docs that you need, and from there you actually learn the language. You get a Black's Law dictionary. We all should have a legal dictionary in our house. That's how you know you're not an elite. That's how you know you're not first class, you're second class. You don't even know the laws of the land. You don't know the language of the land. The language of the land is legalese. The language of the land is the law. So how do you, what they say, blueprint for success? That means you're what? That means that you got a Black's Law dictionary. You got private documents in your possession. You're studying the private language through the private documents. You're learning the language of Trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. That's what you're learning. You're getting around the right people. You get people come on, oh yeah, Trust Christian, I know that you got a tax professional that you work with that's an enrolled agent that can defend me in front of IRS, but I'm going to delay getting in front of them because I got to watch the football game. I got to watch LeBron score the 46,000 point of his career. I got to watch Dancing with the Stars, right? You got to watch Dancing with, you can't miss that, right? But do you got Black's Law dictionary? Do you have a Bouvier's dictionary? Oh, some of y'all coming to us with this information. Do y'all have a UCC dictionary? Something that deals in public commercial contracts. You don't have the dictionary for it, but you say you're an entrepreneur. You say I'm an investor. Trust Christian, I'm going private. I want to be a private trustee. You don't need a trust because you're not trying to learn contract language. That's why. And when you don't know something, you're considered a minor. Y'all want to go there? You're considered a minor when you don't know something. That has nothing to do with your color. It has everything to do with your intelligence because you didn't study it. It's interesting that the elites have not made it a point to ever share the law of the land in public school. That's to intentionally keep people as minors. That's not an accident. The last time we checked, the politicians know the law. Aren't they the law people, law keepers? How are they going to keep the law if they don't know the law? How are you going to enforce the law for them if you don't know the law? That's the point. That's why you don't need a trust, because you're not going to study trust. Are you the trustee or are you trying to be the beneficiary? You don't need a trust if you're trying to be the beneficiary. You hear that? You don't need a trust if you're trying to be the beneficiary. That's what a lawyer's getting y'all at. Oh man, am I supposed to be the trustee? Am I supposed to be the grantor? Man, I think I want to be the beneficiary because I'm trying to benefit from this stuff. Exactly. So let's keep it there. Let's have that conversation. You don't need a trust if you're not going to correct your speech. Some people say, oh man, the information's over my head. How long are you willing to study? So somebody typed into the chat, I have a copyright on my name. It's not to say that people don't know copyright law, but that's like asking somebody what's the difference between a copyright and a trademark. And some people gonna come at they. I can see based off the theme of this episode and where the conversation's at right now in the chat. They're like, oh yeah, Trust Christian, the UCC filing. I want to own my name. Y'all want to go there? I want to own my name. You own your name now? What are you doing? You're the owner. Why doesn't the family trust own the birth name? Why doesn't the family trust own the businesses that you wanted to create? Why doesn't the family trust own that? Well, who created the family trust? Let's start there. How many of y'all got family trust as trustees? Let's start there. So how you gonna sit here and say you own the name? And we're not saying the person in the chat said that, but overall, do you own yourself? Most people don't own the name. The name is being copyright infringed upon. And in turn, most people don't know how to enforce the copyright or the trademark violations by the opposing party. Is that the case? Do you know how to enforce when someone violates your person? See how we talk about it? The persons? The person? Then they say it's on your person? Think about how legally they describe the legal charging entity to you. Yeah, X, Y, and Z has something on their person. Because they can't charge living beings. They can only charge dead entities. How can you charge a dead entity a debt to pay a debt? Supposedly the system's bankrupt, right? Supposedly the system's debt, right? So how you gonna pay a debt with a debt? But because people don't know legalese, they getting caught up. So when somebody says into the chat, they says, I digitized my whole body and copyright. We'll give you what that looks like from our perspective. What that means is you described property. You, maybe the family, whoever did, the individual, is describing property, digitized your whole body and copyrighted. It's like when you buy a house. If you go look at the property description, it is not the actual address. It is a description of where the property is located. Oh, so it's VR Lily, whatever the person's name is in the chat. And they are describing the height of the body. They're describing the teeth. They're describing the eye color. They're describing how many hands, how many feet, how many fingers, how many toes, any sexual gender showings that would be revealing, and it would almost have exact measurements of various parts of the body to be identified. And so, okay, it's been what are you doing from there? You say you're protecting the asset. Okay, for what purpose? Are people trying to do something to the body? Or is someone trying to do something to a piece of paper, a name on a piece of paper? More so the name on a piece of paper. Dead entities deal with dead entities. Paper deals with paper. That's what goes on. So how would you digitize your whole body? You wouldn't. You digitize what's called an image. They have a NIL. Name, image, and likeness. So if you forgot to copyright the likeness, whether you know it or not, in copyright and trademark, if something even looks close to the original identifying filing party, you can sue. If something looks close, for example, if you say John Doe and somebody's trying to sue you and they sent the letter as John Doe's, it looks like John Doe, right? Right. What if you copyrighted John Doe and somebody uses John Doe, but they use it with two E's? Might create a confusion on who we talking about here, right? Right. You can't just use certain things, phrases, because they're copyrighted. But who's going to enforce when you do infringe or someone infringes on your copyright? Do you have a fee schedule associated with the name, image, and likes? And someone infringing on the digitized version of the whole body, the image? Do you have a fee schedule for that? No, Trust Christian, I just created, a copyright, and then I did a comment on copyright. I emailed it. I mailed it to myself. Okay. You could have put it on public record. Let people know this name is being used by X, Y, and Z. If anybody wants to, if anybody uses it from this point forth, there is a infringement fee. It's that simple. But the reason why people don't need a trust is because they're not going to learn it. They don't want to become a good business manager. They want to keep working a job instead of focusing on building their family estate. And that's a hard reality for people to hear. Trust Christian, what you mean? I'm trying to get myself out of working a job so I can build a business. Okay. And so for that reason, I got to work a job. So what you going to say about that? Well, what we're going to say is it's in the mentality. Are you studying trusteeship? Are you talking to people that are in trusteeship, or are you having idle conversations with people about sports and what's going on in the world and being mad at the current political campaign, current political administration? Are you mad at that? Oh yeah, this guy, he's a this, he's a that. Instead of you focusing on what? Building out your family estate, doing it in the right manner, studying business management education, studying trustee education. There's trustee education that you got to learn, no doubt about it. And one of them is trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. Stop saying you own your house, your car, and all this stuff. But somehow you could do that before you get before you get in trusteeship. But how many do it? We done sat on the line for months. Why don't they do it? Trust Christian in the vault. Because that's a decision they haven't made yet. It's not a coinky-dink. It's not an accident. And we want to say it's mental laziness, but for some odd reason, they just ain't made the switch yet. And we're going to let y'all know why they don't deserve or why they don't need a trust. Bottom line, because they're the ones that come back to you and ask you all these questions about trusteeship, and they still haven't even gotten down the two reasons why a trust can get compromised. Literally, they want to be, oh man, trust Christian involved. I'm working a job, so it's hard. I'm around people that everybody got a job. How do I get around people that are entrepreneurs? Okay, did you sign up for your local chamber of commerce yet? You got a job, so you got some money. When you in business, sometimes you gotta make sure you putting up money for the business all the time, living out of the business. But for y'all that's got jobs, did you go register at the Chamber of Commerce? Did you go out to the civil? Are you going to the city hall meetings to find out what are you going and getting around tax professionals to see where the government is giving out appropriations? Y'all want to sit here and talk about this current administration, but y'all gonna miss out on this real estate transition right now. Y'all know that this man is friendly towards real estate, but for some odd reason, y'all scared to study and get into it. I don't got the money. Donald Trump ain't had no money when he got in. All the rest of them ain't had no money when they got in. Everybody tells you, oh, you got to use OPM, but you still sitting up here letting the walls of Jericho get in front of you instead of doing something and just getting the ball rolling. They're going to miss the wealth transfer right now in the next 5 years for the lack of what? Of just saying, you know what? We gotta actually get out our comfort zone. We gotta go to some of these meetings. Google them. Google high net worth investor events in your area. Google wealth events in your area. It's not to say that all the information that you get is going to be correct, but you gotta start searching out the information and associating with the people that can reinforce the mindset of trust Christian, own and control everything. If you guys want to get in trustee training, or you want to reach out before the end of the year, we do have a few slots left in trustee training for the foundation. Quite a few people are actually looking to minimize their liabilities going into next year. Even trusteeship. Definitely, I know a lot of people have been waiting for this episode, waiting for us to come out. We'll do an end of the year episode, but we definitely wanted to do an episode very briefly based off some of the conversation that we've had recently, where people are coming to us asking us, well, how do I have the right mindset towards trusteeship? How do I get the information? It seems so complex. It's not. It just takes you studying repetitiously. Just like you learn how to, I got to go to a LLC or a C Corp. Do you know all the rules for that? No, but you got to know the basics for it, right? Right. You got to know the basics. Trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. Look forward to hearing from you all. Peace and joy. Link is in the description. The Book of Call.